These are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Inspiration Wednesdays webinar. I'm Kathleen J. with the Lectora team, and today we have two special guests from the eLearning Brothers here with us to talk about how to use player skins, page layouts, and HTML games within the template library. And the second part, we will transition over to customizing Lectora interactions within Lectora V11. But before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that all attendees have been muted to cut down on any background noise and to make it easier for all of you to hear the presentation. If you have any questions at all during the webinar, feel free to ask them in the question window in the GoToWebinar pane, and we will certainly answer those at the end of the presentation. You can also email info@lectora.com with any other questions you may have after the webinar that maybe didn't get answered. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to Jeff Batt and Adam Liebler from the eLearning Brothers, who are here to tell us more about incorporating custom navigation skins and people cutout pictures from the template library, and also customizing Lectora interactions within V11. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And as Kathleen mentioned, my name is Jeff Batts, and soon you'll be hearing from Adam Liebler. We're both with the eLearning Brothers. And our focus today is to talk about some of the different offerings that you can get with eLearning Brothers through our template library. Now, just to be clear, our template library is a separate purchase. It doesn't come packaged with Lectora. But we have a lot of Lectora templates. We have a lot of people cutouts and different things that you can use inside of Lectora. So that's my goal today, is basically show you what's available, show you how to start using it inside of Lectora, how to get it and different things like that. And then you can start, and then we're going to show you along the way, we're going to show you little tips and tricks of how to, even if you don't end up using any of our templates, how to actually take advantage of that and maybe enhance your own Lectora courses to make them look a little bit better, act a little bit better, and some of the different tips and tricks that we've learned as we've built different templates and players for Lectora itself. So the goal today is really to take a boring course that you see, like let's say just a true or false quiz or different things like that, just a really boring course that just has text on white background, and to really enhance it to go beyond and to the regular visuals and go beyond that to really make it a lot better inside of any course, really. And that the way that we do this is by using some key elements inside of our template library. Now, before I get into that, really, I'm going to go into how you would get to the template library. And the first thing that you would do is go to elearningtemplates.com. And if you go to elearningtemplates.com, this will show you pricing. This will show you how to sign up for a freebie account so you can start downloading some stuff for free. It'll show you different, like how the template library works and how you would go in and start downloading and using the template library. So I just wanted to throw that out there first of all before we get started. We'll come back to that at the end, but just so if anybody's clear, that's how you get to it in the first place. So the very first thing that you would do to enhance a Lectora course is to work on the player skin. Now, this is the course navigation. This is how you go from one page to the next page. And we have a lot of templates available, skin templates available that you can download, and you can even customize, tweak, and really make it look how you want it to look inside of your own Lectora course. And so that is the starting point. Once you have that available, then you can start adding other stuff like layouts and interactions and different games and different quizzes and stuff like that. So I'm going to take you through this step by step. I'm going to first of all show you how to download these player skins, how to open it up inside of Lectora, how to make some changes to these player skins, and then how to then publish out the course or even add other elements to it as well. So once you have signed up for a template library account, this will be the first thing that you'll see when you first log into the template library. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in, and I have Adam on the line. He'll be answering those questions as I go through, or I'll pause a little bit and answer those questions for you as well. Okay, so when you get to the template library, you notice up on top we have activities, cutout people, player skins, layouts, stock images, sounds, and you can search by software, and then you go to the freebie section, everything that's available for free. So if you click on that, you'll notice all this stuff that you can just get and download and start using royalty free and everything like that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go to is the player skin. So if I hover over player skins, come down to Lectora players, you'll notice all the different Lectora players that we have available. We have two different sizes. We have a 4x3 size, and then we have a 16x9 size, kind of a wider view. And you can see that by clicking on these different objects. You'll notice this one is more of a 4x3 kind of standard. If I come back over to something like this, this has a little bit wider area. Now, this white area is the area that the contents, your interactions, are going to be placed in. And so whenever I'm laying out the people pictures or the text or anything like that, that's the area that I'm going to be working with. And when you click on one of these, you'll notice that we also have the different versions available for whatever Lectora version that you're actually working with. So if you're using version 9, version 10, version 11, also Inspire as well. You can download those versions. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one to begin with. I'm going to download version 11, and I do that simply by clicking on the download button. And this will download a project file, a title file for me that I can then open it up inside of Lectora. Well, I'm not going to have this project. If I'm starting a new project, I'm not going to have it named Gizmo. And so I want to go ahead and just change this to sample course. You can name it whatever you want. And now I can come into Lectora and I can open up that project. So just by clicking on the Browse button inside of Lectora, I'll just navigate to wherever that got downloaded, depending on your browser. I'll go into that sample course, and then I'll click on Lectora Skin Gizmo, which you can also change the name of that as well. And this pulls open with my player, my skin. Now, a lot of this I can go in and I can start tweaking. I can start deleting buttons if I'm not going to be using a button, and I can start moving around buttons if I want to. I can come over to the course content. I can delete certain pages. I can add pages if I wanted to. If I come up to the top, click on Add a Page. Let's go ahead and just name the second page. So I can start building my course inside of the skin. Now, if you wanted to change the colors and different elements about this, you can't actually do that inside of Lectora. What you would do is you would actually download the Photoshop and PNG files for this specific course if you're going to customize it, if you're going to change the color and different aspects of it. So if I click on this download button, it will download a separate folder for me, and it will give me all the source files that were used to actually build this player. So if you have a very custom look and custom color fill, this is how you would change it to make this style match your color scheme, basically. Now I could either just go into the PNGs, which are, I can't change the colors right there, but if you just wanted to resize it or do something like that, I can go into the PNGs, see the background gradient, see the buttons. If I wanted to change the files though, I would come into the work files and I would go into skin images, and then I could open up this player bar here. I can open this up inside of Photoshop. Let me actually change it real quick. I apologize, I'm just switching screens there. But I can open this up in Photoshop, and then I can start changing the colors and different aspects of this inside of Photoshop. And then inside of Photoshop, and I can then save it as a PNG. Now you don't have to do this. I want to emphasize that. You would basically, this is only if you wanted to change the colors or do different editing to the player. Now I would do the same thing with the buttons. And so if I came into the buttons, I can come into this PSD and I can go in and I can change in one spot the body color. If I just come in here, double click on it, click on color overlay, I can change the look and the color of the button and save those out as PNGs as well. So we give you the source files. It's very flexible. You can make it look. You can even create your own, or look how you want. You can create your own buttons and really stylize this to how you want. Now, if you make that change, it's really easy to update inside of Lectora, and I really like Lectora about this. If you come into here, the quickest way that I've found, instead of getting to the right spot and okay, making sure that's that's the one I want, I would come into just click on Add Object, click on the picture icon, and then I would go find on the desktop. I would go find that those work files. Actually, I've already made a change just for the sake of time. I've already made some changes here, so I'm going to go into the change that I made. I'm going to click on this, and as long as it's named the same thing, if I click Open, Lectora is going to ask me if I want to replace that image that I used before, and I do want to replace it. It does add an extra image there, but if I just hit delete, there we go. The player that I was using before, change that color, is now changed to a new color, and I can do the same thing with the buttons. So if I click on Add Object, come into Buttons, and if I go into, let's say, for example, the Next, and click on Open, it's going to ask if I want to replace it. I want to click Yes, and now it's added this image onto the middle of the screen, but if I just delete that, you'll notice down at the bottom, the Next button has now changed as well. So it's easy to update it. Everything is already positioned. You just bring in those new images. So that's one thing. I don't want to spend the whole time, creating that player from scratch or bringing in all those images, but that's just hopefully to show you how to get started. How to get started with the player skins inside from our library. And you can download any of these player skins, download any of the source files, and start changing it to match whatever skin you want. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we're going to be talking about is the actual page layouts. Now, the most interactive or engaging courses that I've seen are not just text and images on a plain white background. Those usually tend to scream out saying that it's really a novice designer or anything like that. So we realize that everyone's not a designer. So that's where the page layouts really come in handy, because it allows you to take a bunch of these different designs and use different elements that you want inside of your Lectora course. So if you wanted just the background of the person sitting on the chair, you can just bring that right into Lectora. Or if you wanted the notepads or a little folder icon, or if you wanted this these kind of pop banner icons as well, you can bring those in as inside of Lectora easily. Now, the way that you access that is by going to our layout section, coming down to Lectora layouts, and you'll notice all these different layouts that we have available for you. So we have the pop banners, we have this call center layout. If you click on it, it gives you a thumbnail view of the different layouts available in this call center. So you can click through and say, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what I can download. And then you can download either just the PNGs and PSDs that were used for this, or you can download the actual project that was built inside of Lectora. So if I download that, it will actually allow me to open it up inside of Lectora and grab the elements that I want from that Lectora course and paste them into my course. And so it's a really quick, just opening it up, pasting, and going from there. But if you wanted to just download the work files, you can do that as well. If you just wanted to grab the different PNGs and PSDs and then import them into your Lectora course, that's another possibility. Now, I've already downloaded some of those, and so I'm just going to bring those inside of here. If I come in to, like, for example, my pop banner, my box one, there we go. So we have this little text box area that will pop out and show the text. Now, one thing I forgot actually is, instead of just the white text area for the content, you may want to have a nice colored background. You may want to have a pattern to it, something that really makes your page content stand out. And then these pop-ups allow your text to really stand out even more. So it's condensed your text in a certain area, so there's not a lot of white space or anything like that. It really helps visually make your course look appealing there. So if I come into the stock images section inside of our template library, I can go down to text background textures, and then I can scroll through all these different patterns of backgrounds. And if I click on one of these, you'll notice all the different sizes. So I can take the size that fits my course the most. I can download that background, and then I can use it. I'm going to go ahead and download this one that was just uploaded called the Wavy Pastels. And this will allow me to download a JPEG or a PNG. You can also download the PSD source, the Photoshop source. And now I can import this inside of my course. So if I go ahead, and I want to do this on the player level, so I'm going to go ahead and just select up on the top here. And so that way it doesn't get inserted inside of any certain page, it gets inserted inside of the player. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this image here, go find my my PSD, or sorry, my JPEG that I just downloaded, and then position that in the background there. So that way, when I place content, when I place those pop-up things, it'll make it look a little bit more appealing. So if I come to the first page here, I forgot I got to move this up here so I can see it when I go to other pages. There we go. And now I can come in and I can bring in that pop-up window that I've downloaded from the layout section. I can just place that wherever I want. And adding a drop shadow, most of these pop-ups have a drop shadow, so having that drop shadow just really makes this content area stand out. And because I'm using the pop-up window, I can add different text for like a banner title. So if I want to say sample title, take this. So I say sample title, just go ahead and place this. Let me adjust it so it's a little bit bigger. I can change the color so it matches, as well as add some text here. And that will make your content in different areas stand out a little bit more. One example, kind of how I'm building it here, is if you go into a finished course that I'm showing right now, this allows you to have the text kind of stand out a little bit with a nice pattern background. And that's the look I'm going for there. Okay, so that's how you would use some of the background patterns, as well as some of the page layouts. There's a lot more to choose from. There's different types of layouts. There's different types of squares that you can place your text on, different notepads, papers, and different things like that. So I definitely recommend that you check out the page layouts there. Now, one other thing that I found really enhances a course is cutout people pictures. Now, cutout people pictures allow you to basically establish a narrator for the course. Now, a narrator for the course really helps guide the course, helps it go through. If you have somebody to narrate it, someone to guide you through, the learner through, and the learner is able to relate to that person. So, and in order to do something like that, you would need to take a person and take different photos of them posing in different areas, and then clip that person out so you can put them on the background of whatever background you want. That takes a lot of work, and especially if you're going to have different people talking to each other. And that's really where the eLearning Brothers cutout people pictures come into play, because we have already done that work for you. So it's thousands upon thousands of images that you can download from the template library, and then you can use as a narrator inside of your course. And it really, again, helps you relate to your students and helps it guide the course as the learner is taking it. And we have a lot of industrial, customer service, medical, business, casual, and we're expanding that and adding more on as we go here. So now, if I go into the cutout people section, if I hover over cutout people, I can click on cutout people. It will give me the list of all the different cutout people available. Now we have business. These are the different topics. We have business, casual, customer service, industrial, medical. We'll be adding on, Army or other stuff like that as we go. And but you can take advantage of what's already available here. So if I go into business, you'll notice all these different people sets. And these are basically sets of people in different poses. So if I scroll down here, and if I like a certain people or person there, I have that person posed in different positions that I can download. That they have whiteboards, they have devices. If you're talking about mobile developments or anything like that, they're posed in different with different facial expressions. And you can choose one of these and then download this person straight to your desktop, and then bring it inside of Lectora. And so I'm downloading that person. It's now downloading it to my desktop. Then I come into Lectora, and then I can come in and add this object here. I go back into where that was downloaded. All right, it's taking a second here. There we go. So we have this person already cut out. So if I go ahead and take this person, insert it inside of my Lectora course, I can then position it how I want. But you'll notice I can't move it up and down. Now the reason why is because this image is pretty large. If you want to download a smaller one, you can. We do have web versions on there, but I do want to kind of have like the person kind of from the waist up. I want to cut them off a little bit. And so in order to do that, though, I can come Lectora doesn't have it inside of here where I can just crop it, but they have it nicely integrated inside of Snagit. So if you wanted to edit an image, you can click on this little pencil in the properties section, click on the little pencil, and it will pop open the image inside of Snagit. Now, it's really easy inside of Snagit. Now I can just come in here, kind of move up the bottom line to the part that I want, and then move if I want to cut off the top part, and then move that top line down a little bit more. And all I have to do is hit save, close out Snagit, and you'll notice it's now distorted a little bit. And you can fix that easily by coming into the position and size and then clicking on reset to original. And I may need to resize this a little bit more. It looks like it's still pretty big. But that's how you would start editing it, cropping it, and bringing it inside of Lectora. Well, I already did that for that person, so I'm going to come in here and just kind of insert that person. No matter what tool you're using, basically you're going to Photoshop or Snagit, you're just going to have to crop it a little bit and test it out and make sure it's working there. So, but these people pictures allow you to really relate with the learner and add somebody to narrate the course as they go through. Now, it's not just actual people. We do have cartoons as well. We have videos. If you wanted to download one of these cartoon characters, these cartoon characters are also posed in different things if you didn't want to actually use a person. We even give you the illustrated files. So if you do know Illustrator, you can open it up and you can change colors, you can change outfits, whatever you want it to do there. All right, so couple other things. That's how you use people pictures inside of your Lectora courses. Another thing is we have a bunch of stock images. Now these are images that you can use to create different environments. We have mobile devices, we have gestures, we have icons, business icons, school icons. We have a lot of different icons that you can choose from, and then we're continually adding more and more onto that. So the way that I would use a stock image is by coming into the stock images category. And we have our graphics category, and then we have photos like hands, notes, paper, computers, and devices. But we're also adding, releasing soon, a 3D graphics section that will basically have 3D chairs, tables, and different things that you can download, and you can even build your own room environments. That's coming soon. I'm really excited about that. But in this case, I can go to like the business icons. I can see, okay, here's a clock that I want to download. I can select the clock. I can choose the correct size that I want of the clock, go ahead and download that, and now I can come into my Lectora course, hit insert for my image, and there we go, clock graphic. Now I have this graphic that I can insert inside of my course there and use that, along with my other stock images that I can come in here and download royalty-free, basically go in and use it as much as you want. Then we have the Illustrator files here as well that are made in, so you can download and customize to your heart's content there. So that's the next thing that I wanted to talk about. And there's a lot of stock images. I don't have enough time to go over all of them, but feel free to check out that category. The other thing is you can insert HTML and Flash interactions. Now, if you're using Flash, or if you know Flash, we have a lot of Flash templates that you can download and you can use. However, Flash is kind of a bad word right now. Because it's not mobile compatible. So we also have HTML content, HTML interactions that you can use inside of Lectora. And that includes both the just simple click to reveal interactions as well as HTML games. Now these are games that will work on iPads, that will work on iPhones, any mobile device, Androids, and basically they'll function just properly inside of your Lectora course. So there's a couple different ways that you can download these interactions. So if you hover over activities, you can come down and you can download the Flash interactions, or you can download straight HTML that you would have to go in and update the code yourself inside of HTML, or you can come into Adobe Edge. Now, if you have not heard of Adobe Edge, I recommend going back to one of the Inspiration Wednesdays that I did a couple months ago on Adobe Edge, and that's I basically take you through the basics on how to get started with Edge and how to bring it into Lectora. Now, if I download one of these interactions, you do have, if you have a Creative Cloud account with Adobe, you'll have access to Edge. If you don't, you can get access to Edge for, I think it's $19 a month. So it's pretty cheap. And so that way you can just use it when you want it and then deactivate it if you just need to use it for a little bit. But this will download the project file, and so then inside of the project file, you can open it up inside of Adobe Edge. And it looks like my internet's taking a little bit to load here, or to download. I think I already have it built, so let me go ahead and pull up Adobe Edge. And this is basically like Flash for HTML. So I highly recommend, if you're going to be learning something, to take a look at Adobe Edge. And this complements Lectora tremendously. It's really nice how well it works together. Okay, so here's our board game. I'm going to click open. Now here in Edge, I again recommend taking I don't have enough time to explain it all, but I recommend you taking a look at the webinar I did a while ago. Over on the right-hand side, you would basically just come into these different symbols in the symbol section, and you would edit your content just by double-clicking on question 1. You'd come in here and edit the question 1 text. And then question 1 choices, you would double-click on that, and then edit the different choices for question 1. And then you can also choose which one is correct, which one's incorrect. We have a lot of tutorials on how to do that. And then from here, you would just publish this out by clicking File, and then hit Publish. And this would publish your course into an HTML file. And that HTML file you can then bring into, so here it is, our project files, inside of the Publish folder, inside of the Web folder. You then have this HTML file that you can then bring into Lectora. I'm going to name this game, and then I'm going to come into Lectora. In my second page, I'm going to go ahead and hit Insert Web View, select the drop-down box, and this is only with version 11. We do have tutorials on how to do this in other versions of Lectora, but I'm going to click on Browse, and then come into my desktop, go into my board game, publish, and then grab that game. And it'll ask me if I want to save a copy or include all the files and subfolders. I do, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that there. And now I can just adjust this web window to fit inside of my Lectora course. Now, as soon as I've done that, let me just show you the kind of the end result here. I apologize, it's taking a second to load there. So I'll just let that load. Actually, I may have it already. Let me see here. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So we inserted this board game inside of Lectora, but to your end user, it doesn't look like it was built in anything else besides Lectora. But this allows us to have animations going along certain points, having this kind of flip card, interactive, engaging content inside of here that's also mobile compatible. And so this is just a way to enhance. All you have to do is go and update the text, but it's a way to enhance your courses and make them really stand out there. So that's another option that you have access to inside of the template library. Now, the last thing before I turn the time over to Adam is talking about the native Lectora interactions. Adam's going to walk you through how to update these interactions. He's going to show you some tips and tricks of different things that you can do with your own interactions as you're building your own interactions. But we've gone through and we've spent a lot of development time on building a bunch of different click to reveal interactions, process cycle interactions, flashcard interactions that you can use and update without having to use something like Adobe Edge. Because we realize that not everyone has Edge. If you do, great, it's an awesome tool. If you don't, here's some interactions that you can use and edit directly inside of Lectora. And you get to these by going to the template library, hovering over activities, coming down to Lectora interactions, and you can see a big list of the different interactions that we have already available. There will be more made available as soon as we have them. You can see like this timeline one. If I click on it, I can select different points in the timeline, hit next, and I can navigate this way, or you can just navigate by selecting the different buttons there. We have a process cycle one that basically, if I hit begin, I can select any point in this process cycle. I can click next to go to the next process cycle, or exit out of that and click next, the next portion on the actual process cycle itself. And the other one that I'm excited about, we have a lot of other ones, but the other one I'm excited about is this flashcards one. Now the flashcards one allows you to basically have allow the user to review content on the front and the back, and then at the end it shows them the results of how well they did. So content one, you'll notice if I click view back of card, it will basically show me the back of the card. So if you have a question on the front, you have an answer on the back. They have the option to select knew it, or the option to select didn't know it. And this basically it's not a quiz or anything, but it allows the user to keep track of what they know and what they don't know, so they know what they're prepared for before they actually, take a quiz or something. So as I continue here, I go through selecting what I know, what I don't know. And then at the end, it gives me my graph, letting me know how much I knew, how much I didn't know, and allows me to review it again. So this is all built natively inside of Lectora. And so you can then use that inside of Lectora, just like this here. And you can remove the background, insert it inside of your course, and the learner can just go through and edit this, go through and review the quiz content using this interaction. Now, before I turn the time over to Adam to show how it was built and to show the kind of things that you can do to help you out with that, I want to just show you how you would actually take one of these Lectora interactions and use it inside of or import it inside of one of your courses. So I'm just going to download the project files, the 10 cards one here, and then I'm going to go into Lectora, and while that's downloading, I'm going to come to the home page. I'm going to click on Insert Page. We're going to build a new page here. I'm going to name this one Flashcards. I apologize, I'll take a look at the questions if Adam hasn't been able to get to all of them here in a second. And that one's almost downloaded, but I'm basically the best way that I found is to open up a new title inside of Lectora. So I'm going to open up a brand new title, and to copy that page from the title of the new one into my existing course. And so I'm going to hit Browse, make sure that got downloaded, which it did. Okay, I'm going to go into my desktop. I know this is a lot of content to hear right off the bat. So we are recording it. So if you have any questions, you can come back to it and review it later. So I'm going to open up this title, and it's just one page created with this flashcard interactions. All I have to do is copy that page from one title, come into my existing course, and actually just paste inside of here. I actually did not need to create a new page. It automatically creates a page for me. And I can come into here, and there's a lot of content that Adam's going to talk to you about, but the thing I want to remove is this page background. If I delete that, it's going to create, or it's going to have a transparent background here. So now whatever background I established for my course, it's going to use the same background. And that way, when you're going through it to the learner, it doesn't look like it's a new pattern or anything like that. It looks like it's just part of the actual course itself. So, all right. So that's how you would insert one of these interactions, whatever one of the Lectora interactions that you choose to use, whether it just be a simple tab one, a simple flashcard one, process cycle. That's how you would actually import it into Lectora. Let me take a look at the questions to see if there's anything I can answer before we go on. One question is, can you please show the available Flash games? Yep, if you hover over activities, go down to Flash games. We do have a lot of Flash games available that you can download, edit in Flash, bring it into Lectora, and use it inside of your Lectora course. If they will work with Adobe Connect webinars, we actually have some games that are specifically for Adobe Connect that will allow you to see the results live as they're going through it. Okay, now we don't have too much time, so I will go ahead and start typing in some of the answers to the questions that you have. And I am going to go in and I'm now going to take the time to hand over the controls to Adam, and he can take it from there.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate it. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. According to my screen, it looks like everybody can hear me okay, but I know that's not always the case. If you are having trouble with audio on your computer, you can always dial into the conference as well and listen in that way. For those of you who I haven't met at a Lectora user conference or elsewhere, I'm Adam Liebler. I work at eLearning Brothers. Focus all of my time and effort right now on Lectora and Lectora templates. And a lot of the stuff that you see under activities here and Lectora interactions, I actually helped work on or built from scratch or had a hand in. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of build on what Jeff had shown you as far as what's available and what you can do, and show you how on everything on this page, everything you see under Lectora interactions, you can change a great deal of this stuff actually in Lectora without having to use Photoshop. About the only thing you would need to use Photoshop for is if you wanted to physically change the graphics themselves, if you wanted to get in there and alter them. But there's a lot of little tricks that we hid in here for you guys so that you could kind of use as much Lectora as possible without having to tap your outside tools. Real quick, I'm going to pull up one of these. I'll pull up the this one, Squares Intro Bottom, and let the preview come up here on my screen. And this, again, was built entirely in Lectora. We did build the graphics externally, but like I said, we were a little tricky with it, so there's some stuff you can get in there and change. You'll notice that you have an introduction section up here, and then you have all of these tabs that you can mouse over, and there is mouse over sound and on-click sound for these, and there's a little click indicator in the corner. When you click on one of these, it gives you a pop-up, and you can either navigate from pop-up to pop-up with these navigation buttons up here at the top, or you can just click on the tab button itself. So that's kind of how this interaction works. All of the other interactions you see here work the same. Some of them use the pop-up method like that one did. Some of them, like this tabs intro one, display the content in a separate frame. So you see the introduction down here, you see your tab buttons, and then your content, as you click on it, is displayed up here in this top frame. But the functionality, the way we built them, is all pretty much the same. So I'm going to go into Lectora now and show you kind of how we built this. The one that you were just looking at, the tabs intro bottom, is this one right here. And hopefully I won't have the internet issues that seem to be plaguing us every time we try to do a webinar. Okay, looks like we're doing good. So here you can see kind of the working version of this. In Lectora, you've got everything laid out here in your stage. Now looking at the design of this, if I go up to design and I click on page size, all of the templates, the player skins that you looked at earlier with Jeff, the interactions, the quizzes, we're starting to build some games in Lectora. All of this stuff, even the things that you bring in from Edge Animate, are all built around some standard sizes. And this is kind of a tip that you can use when you build your own courses. And it helps you build some really good, amazing looking courses, and helps you build them quickly and professionally by reusing a lot of the same elements. So in this case, you'll notice our size here is 1024 by 768. It's pretty much what we use for all of our, if you look at the white area here, this whole content area is 1024 by 768. But you'll notice when you go into the interactions, when you go into the layouts, and when you pull up the player skins, this area in the middle always seems to be devoted to content. And that's by design. Over here on our Title Explorer, under Page Background, if we look at the position and size of our page background here, sure, our page is 1024 by 768, but this content area is 720 by 540, and it's always that size. The little cutout section in player skins is always that size. The area where we build our interactions in the layouts is this size, 720 by 540. And this left-hand corner right here always has the same anchor point, 152, 102. And the reason we did that is so, like you saw in Jeff's course, he has a player skin and then he has interactions and layouts that are dropped right into it. And when we build our stuff this way, you can bring in from library objects, from the eLearning Brothers website, from items that you create. When you bring them into a player skin or into a course where you have this kind of standardized feel to how elements are placed on the page, they just drop right in. And you don't have to do any sort of management on, well, now I need to move everything in my interaction to this place and this needs to move over a little bit. You can always adjust if you want to, but you can drop any of our interactions, any of the layouts, straight into any of the player skins, which incredibly speeds up your development time. Now, if we look at the way that this is built, you'll notice everything is grouped. We're really big on groups, and we love groups. One of the best things about Lectora is the organization that kind of comes naturally from using this Title Explorer over here on the left. When you look at each one of these groups, kind of what the group title is what's in here. This one just contains elements that are part of that page background. This one's an action group that controls hiding certain elements. These are the sounds that on click and on hover sound when you move your mouse over an element. So we kind of built everything into groups here so that they're easy to get to. And one of the other reasons we did that is so that we could do nifty tricks like this. Like this looks like a complex graphic that if you were going to have to go into Photoshop and you're not a Photoshop master, you may or may not know how to change the color of this. So what we did is we made it easy for you. This background is really just one big Lectora shape, and it's got a fill color to it. And what we did was we created two graphics that have transparency built into them, but really don't have a whole lot of color in themselves. There's this shader outer radial dark, which is just a semi-transparent dark overlay. If I turn off the background, right, you kind of get a feel for exactly what that looks like. It's just this, it's dark gray kind of at the corners, and it's kind of transparent in the middle. The same thing is true of this tile inner raised light. It's just a bunch of really light, kind of half washed out white objects to give that feel of perspective. The reason we did it this way is so that if you don't want it to be kind of a bluish looking background, you want it to be, say, green, you can, in Lectora, just select this one shape, go into fill color, change it to a green color, and everything else kind of follows suit because it's all transparent and it all builds on this layer that's underneath. In Lectora, the objects that are deepest embedded are the ones at the top. The ones further down are layered further towards your viewpoint. So this is the furthest back, then this is the next one on top, and then this one sits on the very top. So by leveraging that, we can change this background color to whatever we want and get a completely different look and feel for this interaction because everything else is layered on top, and you never have to go into Photoshop to change that up. Once you get a background that you like, you may want to save that for use later. My favorite little shortcut is right-click, save as library object, and you can save this as, purple page background. And then anytime you want to use this same layering of that color purple with this radial gradient and this little perspective trick, it's over here in your My Library. And you may have to go into your library objects folder, but this is where everything that you right-click and save as an object is going to end up. And when you want to use it, you just drag it out onto your stage in any of the courses that you're building in Lectora. So again, reusability and trying to put as much of this in Lectora as possible. When we start looking at these buttons and the content, we use that same sort of mentality. We thought, well, what's the way that we can kind of create buttons that are fairly easy to edit in Lectora, but that give you a little bit more flexibility when you want to change the graphics that are involved. Again, Jeff showed you how you can click the pencil and sort of edit the images in Snagit. You can also edit the images in Photoshop. Again, in the library, you can download all of those work assets and bring in the Photoshop file if you want. But rather than use the built-in triggers and the built-in buttons, which builds you a one-off button, like if you type in some text, if you go in and do insert, button, and do a custom button, it basically builds you a graphic. And every time you want to go in and edit that, it's creating a new graphic. In this case, we wanted to say, well, what if we know what that background graphic is supposed to look like? And we don't really need to alter that graphic, but we want to be able to change the text a lot. We came up with the idea of, again, layering these items so that you have the graphics for this button at the very back, and on top of that, you put some text. And this is a Lectora text box, so I can go in here and edit this text to say whatever I want actually in Lectora. I can move it around, I can resize it, I can recolor it, whatever I want to do to that text. On top of that, we've layered an invisible button. And this invisible button has lots of actions tied to it. If you're not an action fan, don't worry, I'll explain what these do. Actions are actually where the true power of Lectora really, really lives. It's actions and variables. By using several different distinct actions, what we can do is we can trigger different things to happen to these elements and to the other elements on the page. So when you put your mouse over this invisible button, one of the things we do is we say, if we go up here to action and look, we say, let's change the contents. And a lot of people think of, immediately when you hear change contents, they think of text. Change contents can be used on graphics too. So you can go in and say, okay, I want the graphic that right now is based on up button. I want to change the contents of that graphic to the over button. That's how we do that mouse over look, so that when you come in here and you move your mouse over this tab, you see it kind of light up and you hear that click. That's based on nothing more than changing contents of a graphic to another graphic. You could have your over graphic be a different color. You could have your over graphic be a different size and shape. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do with it. And it's a pretty powerful way to get in there and tweak some stuff. So we've got that to change it to over. We hide what content was shown up here at the top to begin with. We show some new content. We mark that you visited this tab, which makes the little mouse click indicator go away. We can play the hover sound when your mouse enters the area. We can play the click sound when you click on it. And all of that is tied to this one invisible button. So everything comes back to this one button. If you wanted to change this graphic, it's the same thing as Jeff showed you with changing it in any of our other templates. You click Browse for File. If the file that you want to use has the exact same name as the media you're already using, so in this case, up_button.png, when you select that new graphic, let's find another one. I'm not sure if these probably don't have the same name. They don't. But if you find another one, it'll give you that pop-up that says, do you really want to replace your existing resource with a new one? You just click yes, and every instance that uses that, so all of these buttons that are out here that use that same graphic will automatically update with that new image. So you only have to change it once, and it updates across the entire page here, and it'll update across the entire course. Now you'll notice that in here on this changing and hiding content, showing and hiding content, we don't refer to like an individual text box. We grouped all of the content into groups. And there's a reason we did that, because we knew that as instructional designers and as graphic designers, a lot of the stuff that you do doesn't rely just on images, on text, it relies on images too. So you may say, you know what, this is all good, but in addition to the text here, I also want to have some sort of image. And let's go into one of these other ones, and we'll find some image that's not already included in here. And we'll say, what if we also needed to include this image with the content that's displayed when you click on this first button? Easy. You add it to this group. The visibility that's toggled up here is group-based, not element-based. So when you click on that button, it shows everything that's underneath this group, not just the text. Now, when you start putting stuff in groups, you'll notice that if you grab one thing and move it around, guess what? The entire group moves around. That's okay. There's a way around that too. When you go in to select an item, hold down the Alt key and then click on that item and drag it. You can drag that individual item inside the group. Same thing, works the same way for text. If you wanted to move just the text and leave that new button object there, you could do that. It's just hold down Alt, then click and drag. So now, if we go into View and we preview this, when we click on Tab Text 1, guess what? This shows up. I didn't have to touch any actions. I didn't have to change any variables. Because it's part of that group, it automatically gets shown and hidden with the rest of the content in that group. So that's the quick and easy of how to use our interactions for Lectora, what you can change in Lectora and what you can't. Again, we tried to make it as much as possible things that you can change within Lectora, ways that you can add content to these areas without having to go into a lot of messing with the actions and the variables. We looked at how those actions work just so that you know the mechanics behind it. But in the end, all you really have to worry about is the text on each of these buttons and the content in each of these groups. And if you want to delete buttons, you can delete buttons too. You can come in and delete an entire button, just delete the content group that goes along with it, and then you can reposition the rest of these, kind of center them out if you need to. And you just go through and delete everything that deals with that group that you got rid of. So you will come in here and delete this hide section, delete the button, delete the content, and then you've got 5 instead of 6. And if you're wondering how I move that group en masse, it's just click the first one, hold Shift, click the last one, and then come over here to the stage, and you can move that whole group of items together. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for what I'm going to talk about. We're almost out of time, but I want to turn it over to Jeff so that he can address any last-minute issues and questions for you guys. Let me turn control back over to him, and I will leave it in his hands.
All right. Well, thanks, Adam. So just to wrap up, we talked about the different templates that are available inside of eLearning Brothers template library. A couple questions that did come up is it is $2.99 a year per developer, and you get access to everything. That's thousands of images, thousands of templates. We're adding at least 50 plus, at least in the past couple months, it's been about 50 plus new items to the library each month that you automatically get with the $2.99 year subscription, basically. So it's basically having like a team of developers creating different templates for you that you can then take into customize yourself. So that's if you want to check it out. There's also the free account. If you go to elearningtemplates.com, you can sign up for the free account. And on the free account, you get access to everything that's within the freebie section. And so you can download these people cutouts here. You can download these games. You can download different Adobe Edge templates as well, some sound files, some graphics as well, and that's all within the free section. Anything else beyond this freebies area is part of the paid subscription, so just keep that in mind. That's all that we have. It doesn't look like there's any additional questions, so I'll just turn the time back over to Kathleen.
All right, thank you, Jeff and Adam, and thank you all for joining us today for this Inspiration Wednesday session. Like Jeff mentioned, we are recording it, and it will be posted on our website on the recorded webinars page within the next week or so. And if you have any questions, feel free to email info@lectora.com. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.